big thinking is often misunderstood. Many people hear the phrase and immediately imagine money, connections, luck, or extraordinary talent. They assume that thinking big requires access to resources they do not have, so they shrink their dreams to match their current circumstances. But big thinking has never been about what you own. It has always been about what you see. Vision comes before resources, not the other way around. Every meaningful achievement in history started as a clear idea held by someone who lacked almost everything else. When you think big, you are not predicting the future. You are deciding what kind of future is worth pursuing. Vision is an internal commitment, not an external calculation. It does not ask, do I have enough money? It asks, is this worth doing even if it's hard? People who think small focus on limitations because limitations feel safe. People who think big focus on direction because direction creates momentum. Resources follow momentum. They always have. Look at how real progress happens. No one begins with certainty. No one begins with all the answers. The people who change industries, movements, and lives begin with a belief that something better is possible. They don't wait until conditions are perfect, because perfection is a myth designed to keep you comfortable. Vision forces you to move before comfort arrives. It forces you to act while things are still unclear. That discomfort is not a sign you are unprepared. It is proof that you are growing. When you think big, you stop asking permission from your circumstances. You stop negotiating with fear. Fear tells you to be realistic, to lower your expectations, to aim for what feels achievable today. But realism without vision is just disguised resignation. Big thinkers understand that today's reality is temporary. What feels impossible now often becomes obvious later, once the work has been done. Vision allows you to endure the gap between where you are and where you want to be. This is why vision is more powerful than resources. Resources can disappear. Markets shift, money runs out, and plans fail. Vision remains. Vision adapts. Vision finds another way forward when the first path collapses. People with resources but no vision often waste their advantages. People with vision but no resources learn how to create them. They attract allies, opportunities, and ideas because people are drawn to clarity of purpose. Big thinking also changes how you interpret failure. When your vision is small, failure feels final. It feels personal. It feels like proof that you were never meant to try. But when your vision is big, failure becomes information. It becomes feedback. It becomes part of the process. You don't quit because something didn't work. You adjust because you know why you started. Vision gives failure meaning instead of shame. The most dangerous mistake is confusing big thinking with arrogance. Big thinking is not about ego. It is not about proving your worth or outperforming others. It is about service, contribution, and impact. It asks how your work can matter beyond you. When your vision is rooted in purpose, it creates humility, not entitlement. You realize that the work is bigger than your fear, bigger than your doubts, and bigger than your comfort. Thinking big requires courage because it exposes you. It forces you to admit that you want more, that you believe you are capable of growth, and that you are willing to risk being wrong. Many people avoid big thinking not because they lack ability, but because they fear judgment. Vision makes you visible, but invisibility has never led to fulfillment. Playing small may protect you from criticism, but it also protects you from meaning. In the end, big thinking is a decision you make long before results appear. It is choosing direction over excuses, purpose over fear, and belief over certainty. Resources will come and go, but vision is what carries you through the moments when nothing else does. If you can see clearly where you are going and why it matters, you already have the most important thing you need. Everything else can be built. Most people believe that wealth is built through dramatic moves and sudden breakthroughs. They wait for the perfect moment, the big opportunity, the one decision that will change everything overnight. But the truth is far less glamorous and far more powerful. Wealth, in every sense of the word, is built through small, consistent actions repeated with discipline over time. Starting small is not a weakness. It is the foundation of every lasting success. Small beginnings force you to focus on what you can control. When you don't have much, excuses lose their power. You stop waiting for motivation and start relying on structure. Discipline is born in these moments, not when life is easy, but when progress feels slow and invisible. Doing the small thing every day trains your mind to show up regardless of how you feel. And that ability, more than talent or intelligence, is what separates those who build wealth from those who only dream about it. The wealthy understand something that others often miss. They don't chase results, they commit to systems. They know that outcomes are unpredictable, but habits are not. Starting small allows you to build systems without pressure. You learn how to manage your time, energy, and focus before the stakes get high. You make mistakes when the cost is low, and those lessons compound just as powerfully as money does. Discipline grows quietly long before anyone notices your progress. Small starts also build patience, a skill that is essential for long-term success. In a world obsessed with speed, patience feels like falling behind. But patience is not passive. It is active endurance. It is choosing to keep going when there is no applause, no validation, and no immediate reward. The wealthy are not impatient people. They are patient people with long-term vision. They are willing to delay gratification because they understand the value of momentum. When you start small, you learn to respect process over ego. Ego wants recognition. Ego wants to skip steps. Discipline is willing to be unseen. It is willing to do the boring work because it understands that boring work creates extraordinary outcomes. Small daily actions don't look impressive, but they build the internal strength required to handle success when it arrives. Without that strength, success often becomes overwhelming or unsustainable. There is also freedom in starting small. You are not burdened by expectations. You are allowed to experiment, adjust, and grow. You learn what works for you rather than copying someone else's path. The wealthy think in terms of progress, not perfection. They don't need everything to be flawless before they begin. They start, they learn, and they refine. This mindset creates confidence that is rooted in experience, not hope. Discipline, built through small starts, changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who does. This shift is subtle but powerful. Identity-driven discipline means you act in alignment with who you believe you are becoming, not just what you want to achieve. Over time, your actions reinforce that identity, and your identity reinforces your actions. This is how consistency becomes natural rather than forced. People often underestimate how much discipline they need because they overestimate how much motivation they will have. Motivation fades. Discipline stays. Starting small teaches you to move forward even on days when motivation is absent. It trains you to keep promises to yourself, and self-trust is one of the most valuable assets you can build. Once you trust yourself to follow through, growth becomes inevitable. In the end, small starts are not about staying small. They are about building the strength to grow. Discipline is the bridge between vision and reality, and that bridge is built one step at a time. Those who are willing to honor the small beginnings are the ones who eventually create something big enough to last. Many people believe that confidence is something you must feel before you act. They wait for certainty, for reassurance, for the moment when fear disappears and self-belief arrives. But the truth is that confidence is not the starting point, it is the result. Those who succeed understand this deeply. They do not wait to feel ready. They act with clarity, and confidence follows their actions, not the other way around. Clarity means knowing why you are doing what you are doing, even if you don't know exactly how it will turn out. The wealthy do not have fewer doubts than anyone else. They simply do not allow doubt to dictate their behavior. They decide what matters, align their actions with that decision, and move forward despite uncertainty. This is not recklessness. It is intentional movement rooted in purpose rather than emotion. Waiting for confidence is comfortable because it feels responsible. It feels like preparation. But often, it is just fear wearing a professional mask. Fear tells you that you need more information, more validation, or more time before you begin. Clarity cuts through that noise. It doesn't promise success, it promises direction. And direction is enough to take the first step. Acting with clarity also means accepting that mistakes are part of the process. The wealthy do not see mistakes as threats to their identity. They see them as tuition. Every error teaches them something valuable, something they could not have learned by standing still. When you act before you feel confident, you give yourself access to real experience. And experience is the fastest way to build genuine confidence. There is a subtle but important difference between confidence and courage. Confidence is emotional. Courage is behavioral. Courage is acting in alignment with your values, even when your emotions are uncertain. The wealthy operate from courage more than confidence. They make decisions based on long-term intent, not short-term comfort. Over time, this repeated courage creates confidence that is grounded and durable. clarity also simplifies decision making. When you know your purpose, choices become easier. You stop wasting energy debating every move because you have a filter for your actions. This reduces hesitation and increases momentum. Momentum is powerful. It builds belief through evidence. Each small action proves to your mind that you are capable of moving forward, even when things are unclear. Many people confuse acting with clarity as acting without fear. That is not true. Fear is always present when you are doing something meaningful. The difference is how you relate to it. Those who act like the rich acknowledge fear without obeying it. They understand that fear is a signal of growth, not a command to stop. By moving anyway, they teach their mind that fear is survivable, and that lesson alone builds immense inner strength. Another reason confidence follows action is because action creates feedback. Feedback allows adjustment. Adjustment creates improvement. Improvement builds belief. This cycle cannot begin without action. Thinking, planning, and visualizing have value, but they are incomplete without movement. The wealthy bias toward action, not because they are impulsive, but because they understand that clarity sharpens through doing. Acting with clarity also reshapes how others perceive you. People trust those who move with intention, even if they don't have all the answers. Leadership is not about certainty, it is about consistency. When your actions align with your stated values, people notice. Opportunities begin to appear not because you demanded them, but because you demonstrated reliability and direction. In the end, confidence is not something you wait for, it is something you earn. You earn it by showing up when it's uncomfortable, by making decisions without guarantees, and by staying aligned with your purpose through uncertainty. Act with clarity long enough, and confidence becomes a byproduct of who you are, not a requirement to begin. Most people look for dramatic moments to change their lives. They wait for a breakthrough, a lucky break, or a sudden surge of motivation that will transform everything at once. But real progress rarely announces itself in big, exciting moments. It is built quietly through daily habits that seem too small to matter. The truth is that what you do every day shapes your future far more than what you do once in a while. Big breaks are unpredictable. You cannot schedule them, control them, or rely on them. Habits, on the other hand, are completely within your influence. They are the choices you make when no one is watching, when there is no applause, and when the results are not immediate. The wealthy understand this deeply. They do not build their lives around waiting for opportunity. They build themselves so they are ready when opportunity arrives. Daily habits compound in ways that are easy to underestimate. A small action repeated consistently creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence encourages consistency. Over time, this cycle becomes powerful enough to change your identity. You stop forcing yourself to act a certain way and start acting that way naturally. This is how discipline becomes effortless and success becomes sustainable. What makes habits so powerful is their ability to remove decision fatigue. When something is a habit, you no longer debate whether to do it. You simply do it. This saves mental energy for higher level thinking and long-term planning. The wealthy protect their attention fiercely because they understand that focus is a finite resource. Habits allow them to operate efficiently without constantly relying on willpower. Big breaks often create pressure. When success arrives too quickly, it can overwhelm those who are not prepared. Without strong habits, sudden opportunities can lead to burnout, poor decisions, or wasted potential. Daily habits build the internal stability needed to handle growth. They prepare you not just to reach success, but to sustain it without losing balance or purpose. Habits also shape your self-trust. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you strengthen your belief in your own reliability. This belief is essential. Without it, doubt creeps in, and doubt erodes momentum. The wealthy understand that self-trust is one of the most valuable forms of capital. It cannot be bought, but it can be built through consistent action. Many people dismiss small habits because they don't deliver immediate results. They want progress they can see and celebrate right away. But lasting change happens beneath the surface first. Just like roots grow before the tree becomes visible, habits work quietly before their impact becomes obvious. Those who stay committed during this invisible phase are the ones who eventually experience visible success. Daily habits also anchor you during difficult times. Motivation fluctuates. Energy fades. Circumstances change. Habits provide stability when emotions are unreliable. They keep you moving forward even when you don't feel inspired. This is why habits matter more than motivation. motivation is temporary. Habits are permanent when properly formed. The wealthy don't rely on discipline in bursts. They rely on routines that make discipline unnecessary. They design their environment to support their habits, reducing friction and increasing consistency. This strategic approach allows them to maintain progress over long periods without exhaustion. Success for them is not an event. It is a lifestyle built on intentional daily choices. In the end, big breaks may open doors, but daily habits determine how far you go once those doors are open. What you repeatedly do becomes who you are, and who you are determines what you can sustain. Focus less on chasing moments and more on mastering your daily actions. That is where real, lasting success is built. Most people wait for permission to become the person they want to be. They tell themselves they will act differently once they earn more, once they are recognized, once they feel confident enough to deserve success. This waiting creates a gap between who they are and who they believe they must become before taking action. But those who build extraordinary lives understand a simple truth. You do not wait to become the future version of yourself. You act as that person now, long before the results show up. Acting like the future you is not pretending or being dishonest. It is alignment. It is choosing behaviors, decisions, and standards that match where you are going rather than where you are currently stuck. The wealthy do not wait for wealth to develop discipline, structure, and self-respect. They practice these qualities first, knowing that results follow behavior, not the other way around. When you act like the future version of yourself, you change your relationship with time. Instead of asking what feels good now, you ask what serves the long-term vision. This shift is powerful because it redefines sacrifice. What once felt like deprivation becomes an investment. You are no longer giving something up. You are choosing something better. This mindset creates consistency without resentment. One of the biggest obstacles people face is identity conflict. They try to pursue new goals while holding onto old habits and self-perceptions. This creates internal friction. Acting like the future you resolves that tension by updating your identity through action. Each choice becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. Over time, those votes add up, and your identity naturally evolves. The wealthy are intentional about how they show up. even when no one is watching. They manage their time, energy, and attention as if these resources already matter, because they do. They do not wait for external pressure to enforce standards. They create their own. This self-imposed structure is not restrictive, it is freeing. It removes chaos and replaces it with clarity. Acting like the future you also changes how you handle discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable by nature. Instead of interpreting discomfort as a warning sign, you begin to see it as confirmation that you are moving in the right direction. The future version of you understands that comfort is not the goal. Progress is. By adopting this perspective early, you reduce resistance and increase resilience. There is also a profound shift in how you make decisions. You stop asking, "What would people think?" and start asking, "What would the person I want to become do in this situation?" This question cuts through fear and external noise. It anchors your choices and values rather than approval. Over time, this creates integrity, and integrity builds trust, both with yourself and with others. Acting like the future you requires patience. Results do not appear immediately, and that can be frustrating. But patience is easier to maintain when your identity is aligned with your actions. You are no longer chasing outcomes to validate your worth. Your worth is rooted in how you show up each day. This internal stability makes the waiting period productive rather than painful. Another powerful effect of acting like the future you is how others respond. People sense consistency and intention. They notice when your actions match your words. This credibility attracts opportunities, not because you demand them, but because you demonstrate readiness. Trust grows organically when your behavior reflects long-term thinking and reliability. Many people fear that acting like the future version of themselves will make them feel inauthentic. In reality, it does the opposite. It reveals your truest potential, the version of you that hides behind excuses and fear is not your authentic self, it is your protected self. Acting like the future you removes those protections and allows your real capabilities to emerge. This approach also eliminates the illusion of arrival. There is no finish line where you suddenly become complete. Growth is ongoing. Acting like the future you is not a one-time decision, it is a daily practice. Each day, you choose alignment over avoidance, intention over impulse, and purpose over comfort. These choices compound in ways that are subtle at first, but undeniable over time. The future version of you is not defined by external success alone. It is defined by clarity, discipline, and self-respect. When you act in alignment with these qualities now, you reduce the distance between present effort and future achievement. The gap closes not because time passes, but because your actions evolve. In the end, you do not become successful and then change your behavior. You change your behavior, and success becomes a natural outcome. Acting like the future you is an act of faith, not blind optimism, but grounded belief in your ability to grow. When your daily actions reflect who you are becoming, transformation stops being something you hope for and starts being something you live.